welcome to Stubs with Jason. S-T-U-B-S spells Stubs. S-T-U-B-S spells Stubs.
Stubs.
Hey people, welcome to Stubs with Jason, where I discuss movies, music, TV, pretty much all kinds of things on all kinds of screens. So this week I got a sneak peek at Neon Productions' comedy Babes. It was my local cinema's Monday mystery movie. I had no clue what I was in for, just bought a ticket. They say, hey, just show up and you're going to get what you get. When I saw Neon pop up, I was really hoping that I was about to check out the Nick Cage movie from later in the summer called Longlegs, but that was not the case. So anyways, Babes is described as follows. Inseparable childhood best friends Eden, played by Ilana Glazer, and Dawn, played by Michelle Buteau, grew up together in New York City and are now firmly in different phases of adulthood. But that all changes when carefree and single Eden decides to have a baby on her own after a one-night stand. Babes delves into the complexities of female friendship with a blend of laughter, tears, and labor pains. From co-writers Ilana Glazer and Josh Rabinowitz, and directed by Pamela Adlon, Babes is a hilarious and heartfelt comedy about the bonds of friendship and the messy, unpredictable challenges of adulthood and becoming a parent. So look, I think overall the cast works really well together. The leading ladies do have a really good chemistry. All of the support roles and bit players all land. Eden's doctor particularly gets some great bits. There isn't a lot to talk about here in terms of like the movie's production and the look and sound. You know, it's like a standard dramedy, right? Like it's something almost kind of made for TV, right? But it is well made. Nothing looks bad or anything like that. Thankfully, it has a brisk runtime. It's short, but I think that's not anything against this movie. It's just, to me, if you're making a comedy, I think it's just smart to make a short comedy. Comedies are not made to be long epics. Unless it's Anchorman 2, which is pretty much the exception. Anyway, this movie is rated R, and yeah, this is like, wow. This is even a lot for a 17-year-old to take. Like, my first thought when this movie ended was, this is Bridesmaids, but for pregnancy, and then shortly afterwards, like I found on the internet, it's like a tagline on a poster they have out there for this movie. So, you know, I think Bridesmaids might be a little more accessible to general audiences, just as the kind of a similar comparison. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying you have to be a parent to really get this movie, but if you don't have an in-depth knowledge of like what it's like to have a baby and to go through all of that stuff, some of this stuff just isn't going to hit the same way. But I think that it's still funny. Like, I was in a mystery screening, and I would say that there were more bits where I and other guys were laughing at some of the things we were seeing than some of the other people. And I would just say, like, we're laughing because of the relatability of like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I totally understand the crazy. I understand what they're talking about right now. Anybody who's lived through it is going to get it and really be able to laugh at it. So, you know, again, if you didn't have an in-depth knowledge of the birthing process and some of the things that can occur during the birthing process, you're going to have an understanding of that after this movie is done. This movie, I think, is kind of geared towards moms, which is fine, you know. I'm just saying, it's just what it is, right? I wouldn't necessarily say conservative moms. This movie definitely takes a moment for us to understand clearly that this girl, Eden, has a choice on this pregnancy, and that no matter what, she will be supported. So, you know, and for the movie to continue, she clearly chooses to give motherhood a go, which is a wonderful thing, right? Overall, the movie in general, while I say it's a bit crude and messy, not from a narrative standpoint. Like, the story is very straightforward and it's delivered well. I mean, it all kind of fits and everything does. It's, you go through the parts, see the journey, see this relationship kind of go through its ups and downs with this friendship. And I think all of that works. And there's a lot about this movie that does really work. And there's a lot of good humor in this movie. But man, it's just really crude and messy. Again, parenthood and marriage, it gets a bit crude and messy, right? Like, at some point in time, like, you just really see each other for what it is and kind of go through it, right? So, that said, I think the girls are a little bit over the top at times in this movie, the two main friends, but honestly, I'm sure there's people out there who act that over the top, so I don't know. It's pretty funny, though. I will say it's pretty funny. So, there's one dramatic scene in the movie, though, that it just kind of felt clunky to me. Like, it felt like the movie was kind of moving. You got to this point, and you could sense that this moment was kind of coming. It just didn't deliver as smoothly and as naturally as the rest of the movie felt like it did. Like, it feels like you've just got two girls sitting at a table having a difficult conversation that just doesn't feel authentic. It feels more like, well, they're saying these things because they need to get everything into position for how the movie is going to end and to set up the final dramatics, right? So, I mean, again, since it's comedy, which, again, like, I feel comedy is the hardest thing to review because so many people have different views and different opinions on what's funny and what's not funny. Look, straightforward, like, if you can handle crude and crass comedy, you can watch this and probably have a really good time. But, like, if that's not for you, just don't go anywhere near this thing. You know what I mean? Again, think a slightly more absurd Bridesmaids and think of the things that happen in Bridesmaids. And I'm like, well, we're pretty much right there, probably going a little further beyond that line. I laughed. Like, I definitely laughed. But I was also having a hard time really focusing on this movie and taking it in, and I'll kind of get to that here in a few. So, just to go back to some of the other basic bullet points I typically like to bring out, with it being a comedy, you don't need to see this in a theater, right? Like, there's nothing about a big screen experience that is demanded here. If you want to get out and kind of support smaller media and smaller cinema, like to encourage these movies to keep getting made, then yeah, go check it out. If you've got that opportunity and you're into comedies, yeah, go. It just, I would imagine either you're going to be horrified and disgusted or you're going to be laughing a decent amount. Ladies, I don't think I'm the intended audience here. But ladies, like, maybe more specifically, like, younger to middle-aged moms, if you get a girls' night out away from the kids, or if you get to pick a movie on a date night with your guy and you guys are just going to go, like, part of me would think you want to go find something that is not about babies because you're getting a break from your baby and your child, which is fine, right? But on the other hand, like, this will make you laugh at yourselves. Like, you're going to see this and you're going to go, oh, man, like, I totally relate to the feelings that these people are going through as they're going through the circumstance. So, and there is something cathartic about that, and there's something that people can connect to there. So, just go for it. But again, be warned, it is raunchy. It's a lot. Gents, if you get roped into this thing, I'm going to say you're probably going to have a couple of good laughs. Again, I heard dudes definitely laughing in this screening that I went to. I'm not saying you're going to love it, but man, you could be doing a lot worse for a movie that you get talked into going to see that maybe you didn't pick out. Like I said at the top, this was a mystery screening. So as it got going, like, I don't even know if we got 10, 15 minutes in, people were walking out. Like, it was too much for some people. Like, again, I was really surprised that this was a movie that they went with for a mystery screening. Like, I understand when you sign up for a mystery screening, you're kind of like, hey man, whatever goes is whatever goes, right? If I could go in just as far as it being a comedy, I think it rates as a pretty decent comedy. Like, definitely around the 6s or 7 range as far as a comedy goes. But I think as far as like a movie in general, probably a little lower, right? Like probably around a 5.6 or something like that, or maybe a low 6 at best, But again, I don't think I'm the intended audience, and that's fine. There's so many movies that are made for me, but with its audience, I could see this really crushing. So I don't know if that's young liberal moms. I don't know if that's young conservative moms. It's just moms in general. Obviously, moms who can really take a lot of ranch. This bud is for you, right? So anyway, I want to mention one more thing. This mystery screening, I think a reason I had such a hard time really focusing on just what this movie was is because I definitely took my kids to see this movie. I didn't know. I had no clue. I had read something online that said it was going to be, one of these was going to be a horror movie. So oh man, throughout the week, me and the kids have been like, oh, what if it's Alien? Or what if it's something that we've really wanted to see? We just kept hoping, Jordan's got it in his head, oh, well, maybe they're going to show us Deadpool, which seems nuts, but you never know. My daughter was a late addition, so I ended up buying a third ticket later, so I put the kids together on their own, and I sat by myself in another spot. So the whole time I'm watching this stuff unfold and hearing all of this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my son. Oh my gosh, my daughter. But you know what? Look, it's funny how that worked. And again, I never got to the point where I thought I was going to leave. Although again, if any of you watch this, you're going to be like, Jason, oh my gosh. And listen, I completely understand, you're completely justified in your reaction at this point in time. But man, when we walked out, my son was like, I wanted to leave immediately. And my daughter was like, it was funny, but it was a lot, Dad. I have 3 more tickets to another mystery movie this week. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm really hoping that it's not something that is going to have a permanent impact on my children's mental and emotional development for the rest of their life. Thankfully, they don't really show anything in this movie. It's just talked about, and it's just a lot. It is a lot. Anyways, so that is what... Oh, it cracked me up. So I'm really hoping to get something a little more in my lane with this week's mystery movie. I would say on a comedy scale, this movie is 7.1. Just because I really laughed, and I've thought about this movie a decent amount. This movie did stick with me. But just as in terms of an overall, how is it as a movie, like I said before, definitely less than that. So, if you think this might be for you, go give it a shot. You might really laugh. You're probably gonna have a few good laughs out of this, but it's just not for everyone, guys. So, with all of that, I had another section. I had a whole other segment that I recorded, and I was gonna do a twofer on this episode. But the other section just got way out of control. Got so much longer. It's got to be its own episode, guys. It's really long. So, not going to do any nerd news on this. The couple of bits that I have, I'm going to throw on that other one. And you'll just have to go and check that out. So, you should be seeing this. You should be getting the Babes episode. And you will also be seeing my 10-year Monsterverse kind of thoughts and feelings and recap and everything like that. So celebrating 10 years of Monsterverse, not necessarily reviewing every single movie, but just kind of talking about the experiences I've had with them and the memory, just things like that. It's a little more light overview, but it is a lot of fun. So I am going to wrap up here, guys. Thanks for your time. Please keep sharing it if you can. Make sure you follow me on all of the different social platforms. I expanded onto TikTok recently, did YouTube shorts, things like that. And just keep liking and sharing it with your friends and family if you don't mind. That good word of mouth is how I'm going to get out there and how this is going to get out there to the world. So Thanks for your time, guys. Peace out and have a good one.
Stubs.
Stubs all done.